to another episode of The Lost Guys. With me, I know I love that effect. With me are Nolan Thunder and Martin Stone. Gentlemen, how are you today?
It's Morphin time! Sorry, I had to do it once.
You gave it away! You spoiled the surprise! Yes, we are actually bringing back something which makes me feel very old because this is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, which I didn't think was that lost, but apparently it is a lost media thing. How about that?
Well, you see, I wasn't alive when this movie came out. Fun fact. Ha, ha.
Went with my younger brother to it.
Oh, boy. Well, I would almost argue that the follow-up to this film, which is called Power Rangers Turbo, was
Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. Sorry to correct, but it's a weird title.
Well, I would almost argue that this one is more of a lost media example than the 1995 movie, the Power Rangers one that we're going to be talking about. And I almost wonder, here, let me see if I can find the here we go. This poster here. I almost feel like this would be a bit more of a special that we should talk about. Maybe we should talk about it later on too. I think we could be like a twofer or something. We can speak about the first one and this one after. But
that's a fun one. I have some weird childhood stories about that movie and like how much it really confused me as a child. But the weird thing about that one compared to this one is that one's actually canon to the show. It started that series, whereas this one, it's not even canon to the show. Like, you don't have to watch the movie if you're watching like all the episodes of the original series.
Yes, that's very true. It was a standalone. It was probably the most budget Power Rangers ever had. And
will ever have.
And will ever have, yeah, because I mean, I don't think anything has come near to that level of budget for a Power Rangers.
Apparently, this movie had a $15 million budget, I guess. And I don't know how much the 2017 film had, and I know we'll probably talk about that movie more later. But apparently, a fun fact about the cast, apparently Saban was pretty cheap, and they were making like the same amount of pay they were on the show. Like they were apparently Ivan Ooze, who was the villain of the movie. He was paid more than all the leads of the movie.
Yeah. So the guy who played Ivan Ooze what was his name? Actually, hang on a second.
Peter Freeman or Paul Freeman.
Paul Freeman. Yeah. And so he's an English actor, and he
played Bellick.
He played Bellick
in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right. So he did okay, so let's take a step back. Power Rangers. Does anyone remember what Power Rangers are? You know what Power Rangers are?
The good news is, I think we all do here, but the bad news is I don't know if it's clicking as much with kids these days, so hopefully it kind of gets a renaissance, hopefully, possibly, maybe.
My kids are aware of it, and I never really forced it on them because I never really watched it that much myself.
I started watching the original Power Rangers with my older son, and he was getting into it for a little bit, but then his interest kind of tapered off. In terms of all of like the newer stuff, though, unfortunately, it is, from what I've seen anecdotally, kind of going into a bit of a slump because Hasbro are the ones who have purchased the entire Power Rangers franchise, and they, like, unfortunately, Disney and Bob Iger, when they purchased it, don't really know what they're doing with it. And in fact, their most recent Power Rangers toy brand called the Lightning Collection just went on indefinite hiatus.
Yikes.
Yeah. So, and this has caused a lot of consternation amongst Power Rangers fans because they were chugging along, releasing, one figure from this team, one figure from that team, never really completing that many actual teams. They were even releasing like the power weapons, right? Like the original ones, the axe, the sword, the yellow daggers, the dragon dagger, and all of that, right? But they never released the axe or the pink bow, so you can't actually form up like the big blaster. And so
That's disappointing because I've seen the figures in toy stores and stuff, like the modern day figures and iterations, and like they're really well done. If I was like, because I don't know how hardcore of a Power Rangers kid you guys were, but I really had Power Rangers in my veins. Like, I was all about the show when I was young. I was not a Ninja Turtles kid. I was a Power Rangers kid.
Nice.
And that really disappoints me now. I was like, oh, that's the kryptonite of these waves, is they don't finish the series. I mean, wouldn't that be so cool for like cosplay groups if you could get like, of course you might build the weapons, but even if you're just dressed up for Halloween, like you want to complete all 6 of them. Like that's kind of lame if you can't do that. That bothers my OCD so bad.
Well, yeah, and so it definitely somebody with OCD should not have been collecting the Lightning Collection line. And on their surface, the figures did look really good. However, the Power Rangers fandom is just as how should I put this? Passionate as other fandoms like the Star Wars fandom and the like. And they were noticing a lot of issues with these figures, like missed paint applications. I remember there was this big controversy over one Power Rangers figure, this white Dino Ranger, and they hadn't painted the outline of the visor black. And that would cause
that would have looked weird. I know which Ranger you're talking about.
Yeah. And so Hasbro actually they actually offered replacement heads for anybody who wrote in.
It was that bad?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of a toy company offer compensation in their product in like 20 years.
It wasn't compensation. It was a replacement part for a figure. And I think that's the only time, one of the only times Hasbro's ever done that. Anyway, all that to be said, that entire toy line is another sort of saga and another discussion. But they are currently putting basically everything Power Rangers on hiatus. And the rumor is that next year or the year after, where they're going to do like a reboot of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, like the Dino Ranger guys, like Tommy and Jason and all of those. Whether or not that's going to be live action or a cartoon, like we don't.
Well, there were images that came out, if I remember, like last year, that they were teasing like these images, but things were like really desaturated. They weren't that colorful. And you were comparing, if you compare it to like the Super Sentai that was coming out at the time, which maybe it's wise to not follow it currently because of the trend Power Rangers has been in the past few years. Like it just looked very like you have to wear trying to make Power Rangers for adults and trying to make Power Rangers for kids, you know? And it seems like if you can get in the middle, that's the most profitable balance, you know, the adults with the deep pockets and the nostalgia, the kids that will buy the stuff because they love the show. And that middle ground, they've just struggled with it so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. But in the 90s, though, like, things are pretty good.
Yeah.
So this new series, would it be like remakes of the episodes or continuing adventures we didn't see?
I have no clue. The problem was it just looked like it was kind of dull. Like they were trying to make it more adult, but they weren't going all the way with it. I would have to research a bit into it, but I know it just did not look like they knew what they were doing with the series.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so much to work off of too, because if you go back and watch a lot of the old Power Rangers episodes, like they're cheesy and they're fun, they're entertaining, but you know, the writing doesn't age extremely well as when you were a kid because you know it's very light, it's very fluffy. But there were a lot of great deep themes, especially in like the In Space Lost Galaxy era, in my opinion, even in the Mighty Morphin a bit, where there were some cool, serious type ideas, and that was probably about the closest it got in that middle ground. Now it just seems like for a while there they were trying to make the show into a comedy, and now I don't trust anybody behind this now. But I will say, I have to go on a little bit of a tangent here from the movie, but I did recently see Once and Always, the Netflix special, which brought back the original team. And I gotta say, I was very impressed. It wasn't all just nostalgia berries. Starting out, I thought it was just going to be kind of retreading typical Power Rangers things, but with the way they embrace like the stakes, the theme of death, the progression of time, like honestly, if they put them in charge of a future season, I think it would actually be in pretty decent hands. That's my personal thought.
You're not far off because the guy David Yost, who played Billy Cranston, the Blue Ranger, that was his brainchild, and he had been lobbying Saban and then Hasbro for years with a Power Rangers revamp. And I think the Netflix Once and Always special was basically the end result of it. I think he was actually hoping for a full series, but
why not put him in charge of the series? Like if that Netflix special probably did pretty good, like what is Hasbro doing?
Well, they don't really know. And the same thing as Disney when they had the Power Rangers franchise. They didn't know what to do with it either. And it's funny. You don't, if Star Wars has taught us anything, it's that these corporate, like that, it's a lot harder to run a franchise than any of us had ever realized. The people back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even the 2000s, when they were running these franchises, when they were creating them, things like Power Rangers, Transformers, Star Wars, Star Trek, um, they made it a lot easier than we thought. They made it look a lot easier than we thought.
They lived and breathed it, so they knew all this stuff like the back of their hand. And when you try to get someone else to do it, all of a sudden it looks like it's like trying to do witchcraft. It's way harder than they make it out to look.
But I mean, there's a certain. Sorry, go on, Martin.
Well, I've got a theory about all this relating to the death of sincerity, but that doesn't really relate to the Power Rangers movie.
No.
So we could talk about that later.
All right. But all that to be said, it was a good time. It was a golden time. It was a great time. The Power Rangers were just on fire. It was
the complete opposite of today. Like the Power Rangers were in the papers, the news. Like kids couldn't get enough of this. Like it was like the hot new thing. And instead of having to get like Japanese imports of all the monster battles and stuff, they took the American actors, they spliced it with the Japanese footage, and next thing you know, I think the first season had like 70 something episodes, if I'm correct, and Mighty Morphin was on for like 3 seasons. So the show was a huge hit, and I guess 20th Century Fox wanted in on some of that money.
What's the saying, Martin? Maybe it's something along the lines of lack of resources is the mother of all ingenuity.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Necessity is the mother of invention, but I'm thinking more along the lines of being as cheap as possible is the mother of all ingenuity.
Yeah, you hear that so often. The limitations that ILM had in making Star Wars made them rethink things and figure out new ways to do stuff. Or because we didn't have the budget for this, we kind of had to do that, that kind of thing.
Yeah, people prefer the cheap stuff over the really, really expensive stuff. Like people would take the practical effects in Star Wars or Godzilla movies or something like that. And I promise not to just bring up Godzilla every 5 seconds like last time. But like people like the cheap methods, and I feel like they're just that much more charming.
Well, where I was going with this, though, is that Haim Saban, who owned the Saban company, was notoriously cheap. And he hit upon this genius idea of taking pre-existing Power Rangers footage from Japan, which had the costumes, the special effects, all of that sort of stuff, and just filming some random American kids in scenes and having them dub over that, splicing it all together and turning it into a show, basically making it as cheap as possible. And yet that was the billion-dollar idea that spawned a decades-plus long franchise. So you never know where thriftiness will get you these days, I suppose.
Yeah, it's nice, but it's smart, though, too, because it shows you don't have to reinvent the wheel, It's like, hey, this was a new franchise. There had been a lot of, big toy commercial products in, like, the 80s and such, and, of course, in the 90s, but this was smart because, like, okay, America hasn't had in this way. Let's do it cheap, see if it lands or not, and it's marketable. It makes sense to put your time into it, and it paid off. It's not like a lot of modern shows where you wonder, like, how, like, are you feeling like this is going to make money, period? Like, when was the last time you seen a kids franchise that wasn't a video game, like a cartoon, spawning off into a bunch of toys you see on the shelves? Or, like, any of them clicking right now?
Cocomelon.
There you go.
No, I mean like older kids, like 5 to 10-year-olds.
Yeah, nothing really. But for every Power Rangers, you've got like 7 or 8 VR Troopers, Big Bad Beetleborgs,
the Knights of Tir-Na-Nog.
Oh yeah,
so only takes one though.
Yep.
Well, before we get into the movie again, I'm about to crush everyone's hopes and dreams, because we were talking backstage before our show about the fact that in the original Power Rangers, the Yellow Ranger was obviously a guy in the Japanese version, but they decided to turn that person into a woman, Trini, in the American version. However, I got bad news about the Pink Ranger, guys, because the Pink Ranger's stunt double was a dude. So everyone that was watching Power Rangers and thinking, "Oh man, Johnson in that costume is so hot." Sorry.
It's okay. We still had those times in like the second season where you get to see them without the helmets on, and it actually is like Amy Jo Johnson and all them. Like,
But
so we don't have to be that traumatized. But I'm sorry, '90s kids. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, guys. That's
He is so much taller than her.
I know, it's wild.
Oh no, it was jarring because during the movie, when I was watching it this evening, they have that scene where we'll get more into this later, but that scene when they're trying to get like the ultimate power of all that, and they have them all standing next to each other at like the Legend of the Hidden Temple like area.
Yeah.
I noticed like just how short like Kimberly was next to everybody. I'm just like, whoa, this doesn't look right, because you're used to seeing, the dude stunt double against them, so she's taller. And then I'm like, wait, what's going on?
Well, I mean, this picture that you sent me, Nolan, is an example of that. It's you can really see the height difference between them, and it's funny that they were able during all those seasons of the show to be able to pull it off without really making it very noticeable. Like, I guess they were standing on milk cartons or something when they were filming.
Power milk cartons.
But there's so many interesting stories about this Power Rangers movie. So basically, the long and short of it is that this film is supposed to take place between the time when the Power Rangers had their Thunder Megazords and when they switched over to the Ninja Megazords. And they, how do I put this? They faced an enemy by the name of Ivan Ooze, who suddenly appeared. He captured Rita and Zed. He destroyed their power coins, and so they had to go on a quest to get new ones. And they were able to channel the extraterrestrial power of the ninja.
The real power within. I like how they go, because, okay, I'm so sorry. I just can't help, because when I was watching this movie, I just can't help but keep thinking back to the very, very old internet nostalgia kick review, how they learn nothing on this journey. They go, they kick butt, and then they get the powers and they come back and save the day. Like, there is no character development for any character in this movie. In fact, I would say the Ranger who gets the most, any sort of character time is Kimberly, the Pink Ranger. I think she's the closest to, probably because she's got the most quips. She probably gets some of the most screen time. In fact, in the Megazord, before Tommy comes in, she's really over. She's taking. You think the Red Ranger, at the start of the show, would have been in the front, but no. It seems like Kimberly's kind of leading the team. So the movie is very different. But I will say about the script that I feel like it was written by someone who never had seen Power Rangers in their life, but they saw the actors and stuff, or was written by a CEO who was trying to figure out a Power Ranger story.
Well, I think they looked at it and they were like, how do we bridge this one season of Power Rangers from the Thunder Megazords, which was the Dai Ranger Super Sentai series from Japan, over to the new ninja-themed Power Rangers, which was based on the Kaku Ranger series from Japan.
Sounds like a bird.
They were like, how do we do this with a budget and maybe make it as a blueprint for the TV series to follow? So they lose their powers. They get sent on this mystical quest to this mystical planet. They meet this hot warrior babe in a green bikini.
Very, very hot.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because I was just thinking to myself, yeah, my kids watch this. So do I have to warn Mrs. Stone this is coming up? But then again, I was also younger than my kids when this came out, and I saw it. So
you were not scarred. And so she lets them channel their new spirit animals and their new powers, and they become Ninja Power Rangers and rally back, fight back against Ivan Ooze, and ultimately defeat him, Once and for all, thus saving Angel Grove, which looks suspiciously like Sydney, Australia.
I like how Angel Grove looks more though in this movie because I feel like because of the aerial shots, it looks more alive than it did in the show.
Beautiful Angel Grove with its wonderful tax breaks.
And it's monorail.
But it's okay. Angel Grove, like every other weekend, has like every single kind of event under the sun. Like the school's always hosting, like, "Hey guys, it's International Peace Day" or "Eco-friendly Event Day" or something like that.
I wouldn't want to be an insurance adjuster in Angel Grove, I'll tell you that.
No. Well, speaking of on the top, if you don't mind, speaking on the topic of Dulcia, so she was never in the show, but
No.
I'm not gonna actually make a rant. I'm not actually gonna talk for like an hour about how hot she is. No, I actually have legit behind the scenes information about her. So, fun fact: so she was portrayed by an actress by the name of yeah here. Okay, so Gabrielle Fitzpatrick. She was originally cast to play this role in the movie, but apparently she had to have an emergency surgery or something for like a cyst that she had.
Oh,
so
no.
she was taken off the movie production, and instead filling in for her was an actress by the name of Mariska Hargitay. Hargitay. Thank you. And you can see some behind the scenes photos of her and such playing the role. So she played it for a few weeks, like a month of filming. She did the role. But then the other girl, Gabrielle, came back and was available again. So sometime after Christmas, whatever, when she was like vacation with her and her family, they fired Mariska from the production and brought back Gabrielle to play her again. So when this happened, though, there were some changes, I guess, that happened. There was a scene filmed with Mariska where they had like spent the night with Dulcia and like she was training them a bit to fight, which actually would be kind of cool and kind of give them a little more doing stuff with her. But the biggest change, which I learned this today, there was a character by the name of, was it Snaggle or Snuggle? Not Snuggle, it was Snuggle. Sorry, his name was Snoggle. Snoggle was his name. And he was like this annoying sidekick or whatever. And apparently they did better than Lucas with Jar Jar because they realized that he kind of sucked. So they cut him out of the movie and they didn't refilm his scenes or something. But there's some lost media for you that he had uncut scenes, I guess. And I gotta say, this movie, with the amount of, 90s tropes, like this is the most they don't understand Power Rangers script once again, in my opinion, even though I actually really like this movie. I think it's fun, but it's one of those where it has like the thing where it's like, okay, we need to have like a little kid actor appear in the movie. He needs to be there. He's not a Power Ranger, but he's there for the kids to relate to. Thankfully, he wasn't really that annoying or anything like that. He was actually a pretty good kid actor, so I was surprised.
Here's what I'm a little surprised at, Nolan. You didn't go down the rabbit hole on Mariska Hargitay because she's on Law and Order SVU, has been forever. And secondly, she's Jane Mansfield's daughter with Mickey Hargitay, who was a bodybuilder and small-time actor in his own right.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's new information to me.
Nolan, I wanted to ask you something because you sent me this photo of the Pink Ranger.
Okay. The rabbit hole goes deeper. This is Catherine Sutherland. She took over from Amy Jo Johnson as the Pink Ranger after she left. And I actually think I like Kathy a bit more. I follow her on Instagram. She seems really cool. I'd like to meet her at a convention one day, but I love both of them. They're amazing actresses. But the reason I sent the picture of her, because in this little small world sort of thing, she actually auditioned to be Dulcia in the movie, and they turned her down because they thought she was too young. She was 7 years younger than Gabrielle at the time, and then she would later go on to replace Kimberly as the Pink Ranger in the show and have a few years as the role herself. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Because this looks like a movie costume. Because they like this. So the thing on screen right now is, I guess, a transitory Power Rangers costume when they got their ninja powers, where instead of morphing into the spandex or the armored suit, they had these like ninja-esque flowy costumes. And this, they had them on the TV show, and they had them in the movie, and I don't know if they were exactly the same ones or not, but this
They weren't exactly the same because on the show, I guess you couldn't see their faces. And during the
right.
movie's production, further confirmation that the people making the movie that didn't know the show, when they were making it, I don't know if you guys know this, the visors of the Rangers, when they started filming, they didn't have the visors because they didn't like how you couldn't tell their facial expressions and such.
Whoops.
So it completely defeated the thing of like the Rangers are supposed to have a secret identity, even though like Lord Zed and Rita know who they are. But still, like, so if your people of Angel Grove are wondering who they are, look, it's them. It's Tommy and Adam and all them. But then, like a month later, I guess someone was like, "Hey, wait, that's not right." So they had to like refilm the scenes with the proper visors. And if you look at a behind the scenes photo, like this is the most iconic one of that. But I know there's a photo where you could see like the 5 different costumes, the behind the scenes sets of like in the background the different outfits the Rangers wore. I know I sent it to you, Hangry. I don't know if you have it or not. Oh, this one, yes. If you look at some of those costumes, there are some that do not have visors on them. So I think those were the original helmets they were going to use.
What I read about that was because it was a big budget production and because it was going to be on screen, there was this idea that they needed to have the actors' faces visible so that they could emote better for the big screen. And so that's why they pulled out the visors and the mouthpieces. But then someone looked at it and thought, you know what, that looks really, really stupid.
It looked awful. It looked awful.
And so then they decided, wait a minute, we'd better pull back on this one. And I think, I'm really grateful that they did, because an entire movie of this would have, I don't know.
That would have ruined the movie, honestly. Yeah. Like, just the little things go a long way. But I will say on the top, go ahead, sorry, Martin.
When I went to go see it, I was actually disappointed that the costumes didn't look like the TV costumes. I didn't like the upgrade.
Really? Because I was about to say, like, I think these are possibly the best Power Rangers costumes we've ever had. Like, in fact, when they did the 2017 movie, this is how I wish they did the costumes, because I think this is, like, the best kind of big budget upgrade you could have done from the spandex. Like, if you were trying to make, it's like kind of like with superheroes, like, where you kind of see the spandex, and they wanted to really kind of get away from that in, like, the 80s and the 90s. I think they might have even pulled off a bit better than, say, like, I don't know, like the superhero movies that were coming around at the time, like some of the later Schumacher Batman type stuff where it kind of looks rubbery. Like, these actually look like armor battle suits, and especially like in those low lighting. My favorite scene of the movie is when you just have them walking around in the dark, all Scooby-Doo style, and they're really smart because they know to stay in a group instead of splitting up like it's Fred or something like that. No, they're just kind of going around, and you just see those costumes, and they add the little lights onto
the helmets,
Yellow Rangers costumes. Like, I think these were amazing. I love these things.
I'm not saying they're not better costumes. They are. And the light thing was clever, but it bugged me that it never came, like it never popped up in the TV show.
Yeah.
Like in Star Trek Generations.
Yeah.
It bugged me that the set of the bridge of the Enterprise was lit differently than the TV show. I know that
they just forgot to pay the bill that day on the power. And
I know that you have to do it different for a movie. I get that, but it's the same universe. They shouldn't have a big golden color on the Enterprise. It should be sterile and Enterprise D-ish.
Yes,
in the same
I completely
way.
get that though, because like when I saw this, because I like this film better now than when I did as a kid, because I had watched Mighty Morphin on the reruns because like when I was young, it was like in the post SPD type era, so it was like the latter Disney years and stuff. So that's why I got into Mighty Morphin for the reruns and such. And I had rented the movie, and it didn't really click with me very much when I was a kid, because I'm like, there was just so much that was weird about it. And I understand why now, because of like how it was a film production, they were capitalizing on the success of the show. But going as a kid, watching, you're expecting consistency. And when I saw like how Lord Zed looked, he was all bulky, it bothered me. The way some of the characters were kind of acting a lot more, somehow even more one-dimensional than before. The little things like the continuity shift, because like you were saying earlier, Hangry, about how they were trying to lay the groundwork for the show or something like that. the show must have not liked it because they completely ignored this movie and did their own thing. And this film is weird.
Well, I want to go back to something that Martin said though, is that okay, number one, I love these costumes. When I saw them, I thought, oh man, these look like high budget Power Rangers costumes. Like, there's nothing wrong with spandex. I'm not saying that, but these, like the way that they incorporated the sort of the armor design, but still keeping the basic overall design of the original costumes, I thought was really cleverly done, and it just felt a bit more. It felt a bit more authentic to what Power Rangers was than even, as you said, the 2017 movie costumes. But
the awful costumes?
Well, I don't think they were awful. Just very different. But what really kind of upset me though was, like Martin, after I saw this movie and then I kept watching the TV show and I saw, oh, okay, they're getting their ninja powers now. Oh, cool. So does that mean that they're going to get these costumes? And I kept waiting and waiting to see for these costumes to be introduced in the TV show. But of course, Haim Saban was so cheap, he didn't want to do that. And I remember at one point in the TV show, they get this power up, like they called it like their metallic armor powers. And I thought, okay, this is it. We're going to be getting these costumes now. And instead, it was just the spandex with glitter on it.
You got glitter. You wanted these armored suits, and you got glitter from the Walmart aisle. I'm so sorry.
I know. So that was a real disappointment. And I think the only other disappointment I had with these costumes is I would have loved to have seen a Green Ranger version of this movie costume.
I think everybody wanted that. The suits were made out of PVC and metal plating rather than the spandex, so that's how they made them.
What I will say, though, and one place where the TV show beat the movie by far, I think, was in the designs of the robots, the Zords, as if you will. So again, the TV show was based on Kaku Ranger, which was a Japanese series. And I guess in Power Rangers, in the movie, they really, really wanted to make use of computer animation. However, I feel like this might have been a bit of an error because the model for the Megazord, like when I first saw the Zords pop up, I saw this and I'm like, what is this? Like, it was just
how it looked like in the show, because this didn't look right. I meant to look that up prior.
No. I'll show you. This is what the show looked like, and this is what the original. This is what it was based on. This is the original Japanese design, right? Like this. That's cool.
Okay.
That's neat. Like, you can see where the computer animated model tried to draw from, and I think I've got a comparison pic here somewhere. Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up. But it was, here we go. Like,
oh man, that's so
nice
bad.
Try, but no cigar.
I definitely saw this in the show, but I remember more of the Megazord that actually did look more like a ninja. Ironically, I think that came before this one, and because I watched Mighty Morphin religiously, and I remember one of the most key things though when I saw this when I was like 12 was how awful I hated the Zords in this, because I'm like, I almost, like, my young mind couldn't comprehend the bad CGI. Like, I was like, why does the Megazord look so weird? I think that out of everything was the most jarring. And you see the effects too. And like, now I can enjoy it because it's so bad, but it's not really like, when I see it, I'm just like, man, I've seen Instagram filters that look more convincing than this.
Well,
oh boy.
Unfortunately, it's we can't go too hard on them, because even back in 2017, they didn't really learn their lesson, right? I mean,
No.
hang on. This was here. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. This was the Megazord for the 2017 movie, which was just as, I would almost argue, just as bad, or I mean, a bit more in high definition. But you look at this and you're like, oh, that
How did they make it
that's
worse?
Optimus Prime, or what? Wait,
That looks like the ad you see when you're trying to watch something, and when you're not seeing the hot singles in your area ad, instead you're seeing like this game's graphics will blow your mind, and the
yeah.
game's not actually that good. This doesn't look like anything out of Power Rangers.
And the one thing that the 1995 movie got right over the 2017 movie is that you actually, for as bad as the CG was, you still saw them combine together. Like in the 2017 movie, there was like a puff of smoke, and then you had this.
Maybe it's like in Viper when we were talking about the CGI effects. How later on they just got lazy with it, had explosion, it drove away.
It might be that, but yeah, like. The other funny thing about Power Rangers at that time as well was that when you look at, so okay, here I'm going to throw up another photo of the original costumes, and if you look at the costumes, they are, so right off the bat, hang on, let me see if I can find this. So when you look at these costumes here right off the bat, you're looking at two separate Japanese Sentai series. You've got the 5 in front, the black, pink, red, yellow, and blue, and their helmets are shaped like a triceratops, a mastodon, a pterodactyl, a saber-toothed tiger, and a triceratops. And then you got the guy in the back, the White Ranger, who doesn't have a mouth and who has a helmet shaped like a golden tiger. And that's because it was actually taken, it was a costume from the Die Ranger series, where they all basically had completely separate costumes and Zords, which were the Thunder Zords here. And I'll show you a photo of this. And you'll when you see this photo, you'll recognize why the White Ranger costume, at least for me, always felt a little bit out of place. Like he didn't even have like the morphing belt buckle, right? So this was what the second season of Power Rangers should have looked like. But Saban were really scared that if they got rid, they thought that the Dinosaur Rangers were iconic, and they were afraid that if they got rid of those costumes, people would get confused. Like they really thought that the audience was stupid, and that was a really big trend back in. Well, I mean, I guess even now they think the audience is
yeah,
but they really didn't give the audience a lot of like a benefit of the doubt when it came to things like this. And so they were afraid that if they got rid of those Triceratops and Tyrannosaurus costumes, suddenly the kids wouldn't buy the toys anymore, and they would be afraid of that. And I think some of that might be informed by the death of Optimus Prime in the Transformers movie way back in '84. When they killed off Optimus, they killed off all the original Autobots, and they replaced them all, and then this like the franchise kind of tanked from there. So
I will defend that decision, like as far as like not killing off Optimus Prime. I mean Power Rangers. I think they made a good choice because it's different for now from an adult's perspective. But I remember because my favorite seasons of Power Rangers were season 2 and 3 when they were adding more and more American footage into it. They had like the White Ranger, the Alien Rangers, and all that. I thought it was really cool how they were spinning everything. And I remember at the time when they switched to Zeo, I was always praying that they would go back to the Mighty Morphin type stuff whenever they would have like their little callbacks in Zeo, because I just so much preferred like everything about Mighty Morphin. And also, it might have been also because I really didn't like the Machine Empire. Lord Zed was just so much better. But it's so cool though, this image you pulled up though of seeing like the other Rangers and like the White Ranger-esque costume. Like I would totally watch a show with these.
Now,
yeah,
this is the one with like the Phoenix and stuff, right?
yeah. So it's like suddenly they ended up getting a sort of a Chinese Asian Orientalist theme where they had a phoenix, they had like a red serpentine dragon, they had
and it was one of the coolest things they ever did. Like that thing's up there with Serpentera. Actually, no, okay, Serpentera was actually lame because they didn't do anything. But the red, the dragon, that was cool.
yeah.
All right, so episode progressions are kids have a moral issue at the beginning, fight the putties as people, fight the putties as Putties and the villain of the week as Rangers. Villain grows, fight him as a Zord, combine the
giant.
Zords, possibly call in the mobile battle unit that they combine with. That's the progression, right?
Basically. And then they resolve they resolve whatever issue they've had at the end of the show. Right. But where I was going with this though is that this was the second season called Die Ranger, and that's the reason why there was more American footage is because suddenly all of the Japanese footage had these costumes in it. And if you look really closely, when that red dragon is flying and it's about to transform into a robot, you'll see this Red Ranger kind of riding on top of his head. Yeah. You have to look at it there. So then after Die Ranger, they went to, as I've said before, Kaku Ranger. And so Kaku Ranger was the ninja theme, and that's where they got the Zords. But instead of giving the Rangers,
no, those look more like aliens. Are you sure those are ninjas?
Yeah. So
I like the Bowie ninja costume better.
Again, if they were going to follow the Japanese model and this progression, technically they should have gotten these costumes, but they didn't. They kept the original ones. So suddenly you've got a guy with a mastodon-shaped helmet whose animal is a frog. And so it's kind of it was getting a little hard to kind of
I'm a frog.
Parse those things together.
Is the frog the equivalent of the Captain Power Heart?
Maybe.
All right, Captain.
It's the equivalent of the prince you kissed, apparently, according to the movie. A fun fact: apparently, the actor who played Adam thought, like, legit on the set, like, I'm a frog. This is lame, and he bugged them and or begged them to put the line in the movie where he's really upset about being a frog. So that was actually the actor who came up with that. But going back to the movie though a bit with this, why in the world did they make these ninja costumes they're cool, but especially when they have them like with the hoods on and stuff, they're so much more lame than like the armored suits. Why didn't they take the ninja suits that were coming from the next season, have them wear that, and then switch back to the dinosaur outfits? That way you get the best of both worlds, and you can use all that sweet Japanese footage that you don't have to reshoot when you're doing the show again. Like the reason that the Green Ranger was phased out of the show into the White Ranger is because they were literally running out of the footage because the actor, or not the actor, in the show, the Japanese version of Power Rangers, that character died, so they were running out of Green Ranger footage. That's why they switched. So any chance you have to get new footage of these new costumes and not alienate the audience, like you could have literally both of these. So why did they come up with these more hokey ninja outfits for both the movie and season 3? That's weird.
I think it's playing it safe.
Yeah,
I guess.
It's also cheaper to film in billowy clothing than it is in spandex / armor, because I think those armor costumes were pretty expensive. But here's my question though. I ran across this a little while ago. Again, the rest of the costume looks okay, right? You've got like the golden coin in their middle of their chest, where you've got the originally, like, let's say it was a Tyrannosaurus and now it's an ape. But the helmets was the sticking point. And so somebody had gone out and actually redesigned the helmets so that they would better reflect the new animals, right? And
I am so impressed with the Pink Ranger one. Like, they did that with a crane.
Like,
that's amazing.
I don't see why they wouldn't have gone with this. Like, because you keep the iconic like imagery, right, of each of the helmets, but you've got enough differences in there to make sense of their new powers, and it also allows you to sell extra toys, right? You can sell one with the original red Tyrannosaurus, and then you can sell the new one with like the red gorilla.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
hats off to this person. This is incredible, because first glance you wouldn't be able to tell. Like, at first you're like, oh, it's the original costumes, and then you go closer and it's like when you see those photos, like the longer you look at it, the more wrong it is, but in a good way.
Like a Mandela effect?
Yeah.
Not like that. Not that kind of thing.
So again, maybe I almost wonder if they might have played it a bit too safe. And then, hindsight sort of history has sort of vindicated this position though, because as you said, Nolan, they switched over to Zeo and they had the costume change. And then from then on, they were basically changing their costumes every year and a bit. And the franchise still continued on to this day. So, but again, on the other side, if they hadn't kept those original Dino Ranger costumes for, what was it, 4 or 5 years, they might not have gotten so ingrained into the public consciousness of what Power Rangers is. Because when you say Power Rangers, you don't think about Zeo. You don't think about, I don't know, any of the newer ones. You think about...
some people might think of Lost Galaxy because that might have been their
Yeah,
first
I mean, yeah, it's true. Everyone's got their own favorite series. But what I'm going with is, if you go up to anyone, you say, who are the Power Rangers? They'd be like, oh yeah, there's like the Mastodon guy, and there's like the Tyrannosaurus guy, and like there's the Green Ranger, and
he plays the flute, man.
And didn't they run a... Why am I blanking on the word? They ran a survey asking who everybody's favorite Ranger was, and like the Red Ranger original ran away with it, even while the guy who played the Green Ranger was like campaigning to get his fans to vote for him.
How in the world did he beat Tommy? Like, that blows my mind. He was like the main character after Jason left.
Because Jason was awesome.
Jason was awesome. But everybody wanted to be Tommy. Like, he had that green costume, and he had like the golden shield, and it was just, when they introduced him for the first time on the TV series, it was so neat because you had this evil ranger.
5-part episode. What kid show had 5-parter?
And
G.I. Joe, GoBots
kicked all of their asses. And
okay. Checkmate. You win that, Martin.
And you kind of wonder what would the movie have been like if they had gone with this instead?
It would have actually been really cool, because this is already not canon. So it would have been cool because we would have gotten to see like the ninja outfit for the Green Ranger and all that. Yeah. And it's all filmed with American footage anyways. Like, that, it wouldn't have made any sense at the time it came out, because like kids were used to seeing the White Ranger, but this would have been a really cool alternate timeline. I'll tell you that.
Well, we got to fire up that Hadron Collider. What do you say, guys?
Here we go again. Yes. All right. This will be the new Mandela effect. We'll start calling it the Green Ranger effect, the Z-Wave.
Well, so any closing thoughts on Power Rangers the movie and Power Rangers writ large?
I gotta say though, like, as far as the movie itself, I guess we didn't really say, we talked a lot about the changes, but we didn't really say what we thought of the movie. Like, I think this film is a lot of fun. Like, it is one of the dumbest scripts I've ever listened to, and it's even dumb for Power Rangers standards. But you got it's the tropes that you like. It's like comic books. You're like super cool looking. You're doing all the fighting. You got the hotties. You got the cool mystical idea, the fantasy elements, the sci-fi. And the rockin' 90s soundtrack. That cover of Go-Go Power Rangers by Ron Wasserman is amazing, and I've been listening to it, fun fact, on loop throughout this whole thing, so it doesn't really get old that much. So I think this is a great movie. Is it the thing I think is the best symbol of what Power Rangers is? No, I think this film is really weird, and you're better off watching the show, because I think the show, for the most part, is better. But I like it. It's stupid, it's campy, it's fun.
Did they have some Chili Peppers in the soundtrack?
Yes, they did. When they're skydiving.
Okay.
Yeah. That skydiving scene was awesome too. Like, I remember when I saw those when you see the trailer for this, you see the skydiving, and Tommy's got, like, he's skydiving on a snowboard, which never made any sense.
It's like Sonic Adventure 2 when he's jumping out of the helicopter.
I thought they were in their costumes doing that, and I was like, oh man, that's going to be so amazing.
An air fight, that would have been so cool. And I will say, as much as I was dogging on the Zords and the Megazord, this film, I will give credit, had one of the coolest things they ever did with the Megazord. They had a space battle where they literally have the wings of Tommy's Zord, and they're like flying around to fight Ivan Ooze in space. That's awesome. I think that was so cool.
that was pretty original.
Hey, I just looked up the soundtrack. They spent some serious money on this soundtrack-wise. Chili Peppers, Van Halen, Devo. Like,
Oh,
they
wow.
put some money into that.
That was in this.
Yeah, Snap. There you go. Dan Hartman, for those of you who are fans of, what was that? I Can Dream About You. That was a good one. But that's not in this movie.
And the orchestral stuff in this film too is phenomenal. Like, I think it really added to the amp. Like, there was one scene where they're looking off to the mystical Legend of the Hidden Temple tower in the distance, where they need to go get enlightened to get the power back. And they're all looking in distance, and you see like the big map painting they have there that whatever they're using to convey it. But it's really feels so much cooler because they have this grand orchestra playing, and like it fits Power Rangers extremely well. It's cool.
Well, one thing about this, like, so yeah, I like the movie too. It's dumb fun. But what I find really fascinating about it, in comparison to modern media, is that we were watching this movie way back when it came out, and you kind of, it didn't make any sense. Like it's that just like the easiest way to say it. It just didn't make any sense, and yet you expected that because it was a Power Rangers movie. It was a movie made for kids. It was pretty dumb.
It's not like 2017 to where it's like it doesn't make sense, but it's made for adults.
No, but what I'm saying is that the leaps of logic and the plot holes and just the way the story does not cohere to anything, that's par for the course these days with a lot of Star Wars and Marvel. Which
I was about to say, are we giving this movie grace that we're not giving to The Acolyte?
Well, that's the thing. And I know some people out there will be like, well, you like that, but you didn't like The Acolyte. Why? And I guess the part of the reason is because Star Wars used to be a serious franchise, unlike Power Rangers.
And not to mention, too, that they knew, the people at 20th Century knew this was a dumb movie for kids. Like, this is obviously a cash grab movie. Star Wars, they keep telling me from all the behind-the-scenes interviews that they are literally basically speaking like it's like going to change the world with their movie. If you hate it, all of a sudden you hate the world and people and such. Whereas Power Rangers, you didn't like it. Okay, you didn't like the toy commercial. Move on. Star Wars, they try to sell it like it's the biggest event in life, and it's just as dumb as the Power Rangers movie.
Yeah. Martin, what do you think?
I had fond memories of this movie, but I wasn't really able to go back and watch it because it's not available for streaming on any of the major platforms.
Oh.
I have. Well, I heard legend once that it was free on YouTube, but only bad people look it up. Full-length movies on YouTube, that'd be really bad. But if you need a VHS tape, I do have one in a tub somewhere. I unfortunately wasn't able to get it out for the movie, but I can send it your way, Martin. You can watch it on VHS.
I'm good.
Well, guys, thank you. That was a really fun conversation and a nice trip down memory lane for Power Rangers.
I got to use all this unused Power Rangers knowledge in my head that's just been collecting dust in my head, so that's nice.
And I got to reference Mickey Hargitay.
There you go. Audience members, fans, were you around and alive when the movie came out? Did you see it? Are you catching up with us now? Give us your comments, leave us your feedback, tell us what you think down below. We love to read your comments. And well, that's it for us tonight. And until next time, it's time for all of us to get lost.
Get lost.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of The Lost Guys here on That Pod Plays. Be sure to subscribe for more content like it, and you can become a member at That Part Place here on YouTube to see more of The Lost Guys every Friday as soon as the guys record an episode. Let us know your thoughts on this intriguing topic in the comments down below. Please comment, like, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to That Part Place Podcasts Online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Part Place for all the news that should be fun.